Greetings and welcome to a Simmers Morning Skate. Rob Simpson with you for SeattleHockeyInsider.com with none other than already a legend in Seattle, TV play-by-play man, John Forslund. How are you?
Hello, Simmer. I'm great, Simmer.
Very
Great
good.
to see you.
It's great to see you as well.
We'll be together soon.
Yes, we will. Simmer
Won't be long.
and Forslund. Camp is coming fast.
Yeah.
All right, let's get right into it. I'm going to talk about some of the things I've been writing about lately on the old website. People have been chit-chatting about, and that would be the captaincy. So if you go up the road to Vancouver, Jeepers Creepers, it's an established club. You got JT Miller, maybe. You got Quinn Hughes, maybe. Elias Pettersson, he needs a new contract. That makes it difficult. Third-year franchise, Seattle Kraken. You got like 6 guys to choose from, 7 guys to choose from to be captain of this hockey team. It's pretty amazing stuff.
Yeah.
Whom do you like? And I argued for Vince Dunn.
You did, huh? That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's an interesting pick because there's things about Vince's character that a lot of people don't recognize or are blown by or don't really understand. So that I get that. It's interesting. I don't know. You know, Jordan Eberle has been the leader of this team from day one. He's been, I know there's a contract situation there. So that's something to take into consideration. You know, this team is aging. You know, the initial group is aging, right? So there's no question that Beniers is in a slot, but it's way too early. Yep. And Beniers will have the entire makeup, I believe, of a captain at some point. Yep. And probably not too far away. Yep. But it's how do you get there? Because this group is in a position to win, is going to have to answer an expectation now that they did not have at the start of last year, but they have enough veteran status throughout the lineup that I think they know that, right? So that's a given. So they know what they have to accomplish. Eberle quietly leads the team. Eberle, you know, is in lockstep with Hackstall. That's good. My guy has always been Yanni Gourde. I've always felt that Yanni Gourde epitomizes everything you need.
Yanni Gourde is in. He scores! Hey, what do you say? Yanni Gourde.
All of these guys have tremendous work ethic, but Gourde is off the charts.
Let me interrupt you for 1 second. The point I made about Gourde, because we can go through Schwartz, we can go through Eberle, we can go through Gourde, we can go through Larson. But do you really want your shift disturber being your captain? Because usually captains getting face washing, creating all kinds of right?
Right. And I think that knowing a little bit about management, I think they'd probably be leaning in the Eberle, Larson, maybe Schwartz, area.
Right.
I'm speaking for myself.
Right.
Yanni Gourde, to me, as an independent observer of this thing for 2 years now, hopefully many more, to me, he's the one that has been able to set the bar for the team and proved it in the playoffs again. I think you can get beyond that stuff. I really do.
Get past the pain in the ass factor?
I think you can get beyond that. I think you can beyond that because I do. Because, I mean, he is that, but I mean, Brad Marchand is going to be the captain of the Boston Bruins.
I was thinking about that.
And if there's the Mount Rushmore of pests, isn't he on it?
Unless he stays in A and they go Charlie McAvoy.
They could do that.
Or they go check and go with David Pastrnak. I've been thinking about, I saw that today. I was thinking about that exact thing. So Marchand would be a natural pick. But again, very similar to Gourde.
There's 2 ways. There's about 3 ways that they can do this, right? So teams, when they look at this, they look at the longevity factor, who's going to be in the organization long term. Maybe then it's a young captain like a Larkin or a Crosby back in the day, right? You might want to do that. You look at contracts. You have to, because you make somebody the captain and then all of a sudden they're a budding UFA. You might have a problem on your hands, right? So they're cognizant of that. They'll never say it, but I think they're cognizant of all those things. And then, when you look at everything in total, for the Bruins, Pastrnak is their best player.
Yep.
And many times the captain is the best player.
Yep.
And he's the highest paid player.
Yep.
And that fits. But to me, I think the next guy to bridge, maybe to Pasta, is Marchie. I think they'll go that way. That's what I think.
All right. Well, on the Seattle side, my thing about Dunner is he's here for 4 more years and will probably stay longer than that. 26, entering his prime. I know he's not an alternate assistant now, but then you don't have to choose between one of these 4 older guys, or they're all short contracts right now. So do you bridge one of those shorties to Beniers, or do you have Dunner ride it for however long it is, and then have Beniers take over later in his career? They don't have to do it like other teams. There's nothing that says you have to give the captaincy to go 21 or 23 or 24.
No, they could let it ride again because it's part of their DNA.
Yeah.
You know, I think there's multiple captains in that locker room. They have a great group. Great group of people in there. So you could be without one again, and it's okay because it's just fodder. It's just something media talks about. It's just something that maybe the fans can speculate about, but really the players know. The players know the leadership core and know who's running the room. That's the key. And sometimes we never know that, right? There's no way we could know that.
What it comes down to.
All right.
Next up, and I'm going to leave this one to you because I think I only interviewed the guy once in whatever it was, 10 years. Joonas Donskoi retires, repetitive concussion issues. You know, was really popular as a San Jose Shark down that way, but gets a little bit of time with the Seattle Kraken, but is forced to retire this past week. Thoughts on Joonas Donskoi in his brief time?
Well, I think in his brief time, he made an impact. And unfortunately for him, I think one of the biggest things he did was when he was injured in the second year, he and his wife were a big part of the organization. So they did a lot of things for the group, for the team, within the team. They were very much a part of what happened in the second year, even though he never stepped on the ice, aside from one practice, I think it was, right? So the first year was a struggle. He did not reach the level that he had in Colorado or elsewhere, and he basically fought through that. And to his credit, never showed any frustration outwardly. Was great to deal with from our perspective. Was a very good Seattle Kraken in that first season, and the first afternoon game ever in the history of the team was on Martin Luther King Day. In year number 1 against the Chicago Blackhawks. He scored the shootout deciding goal in that game. And it was an incredible moment in that first year because it was against Marc-Andre Fleury. And it was, was it a big game? Statistically, no. But it was a full house on a Monday afternoon on an important day in our city and for the franchise. And here he was in the midst of a bad run, a goal-scoring drought. And he had a heck of a game, and it was a big part of that. And his teammates, it's one of those deals where you see the reaction of the teammates, and you know everything you need to know about the player.
Joonas Donskoi, mano a mano on Marc-Andre Fleury. He scores!
Finland native, a Finn. Who, wraps
I called his first game. I called his first game 2015 in LA, I think, and Pavelski looked like he scored. You can look back at the clip. Pavelski snipes one bar down, and it goes off Donskoi, who was screened by a defenseman by Quick, and you couldn't tell. And it looked like Pavelski was first to the bench, and they're hugging Pavelski, and it was Donskoi's goal, and that was his first NHL goal. And I didn't have it, so there you go. I tarnished his career.
4th round pick, 99th overall in 2010 of the Florida Panthers, who he never signed with. He stayed home in Finland and then finally came over and signed as a free agent.
Really good in the playoffs against Pittsburgh in that run for the Sharks. Really good.
All right, we turn the page back to the current club. All our best to Mr. Donskoi and family, by the way. We're going to hit camp here. And we're taking a look at some of the roster listings, if you will, and it makes me wonder about Ty Cartier, young man, 22 years of age, up front, and I believe Riker Evans is 21, lefty blue liner. I mean, to me, it's an open competition. Could we see these guys crack the lineup, and who is in danger? If we got Kyler Yamamoto on one side, Pierre-Edouard Bellemare as a centerman, I'd worry more about Ellie Tolman than I would Brandon Tanev up front. And then decor wise, Ryan Dumoulin's a new guy, veteran. Love having him around. It might be tough to crack for Riker Evans.
Right. That's the key. Given the ages of both players, I don't think the team would be interested in keeping either guy around as an extra player.
Right.
I don't think they're going to be in the interest of any of these guys to rotate in and out of the lineup.
Yep.
Maybe Cartier, because of his style of play, maybe that suits him a little bit better, but certainly not Evans.
No.
And certainly not a player who logged the minutes he did in the playoffs in the American League and play the way he did. And, looks like a budding, solid NHL defenseman. Let's just leave it at that.
Yep.
The rest is up to him. But there's no question it looks like he can really play. But he doesn't need to play every 3 games. He doesn't need to be sitting around in the press box. They will have enough veteran depth to have a 7th defenseman be that. And I would believe, based on how he played before he was injured, John Hayden will have an excellent chance of being the extra forward. Being that he has an element of toughness, which I still think the Kraken need. They're going to need to have a guy that you can insert, take in, put him in, take him out, whatever the case, opponent base, right? Opponent base. Yeah. Yamamoto has to prove something, I think it's a great situation for him. I think he's going to swing, to maybe on a power play unit. You can move him around the lineup. He can play with great players or skilled players. The Kraken really don't have the level the Oilers do at the top of their lineup. That's obvious, but this kid can move around the lineup. That's okay. Cartier, though, needs to play. He's still, basically had a hell of a second half of the season and a very good playoff and a very good run for the NHL team in the playoffs, but that's a small sample size, right? So if there's any situation where they see further development, it's a great luxury finally for the Kraken to have. It'll be a competitive training camp. There's going to be a lot of, competition within the ranks, but that's a good spot because someone's going to go and be disappointed. And you're going to say, well, gee, they should have kept him, but it might be Riker Evans to the minors for half a year back at Christmas to play, not to sit.
Yeah. And one other fact, Cale Fleury will plug in as the extra guy. He'll sit around as the extra guy probably. And then as you're pointing out here about Evans, one thing to keep in mind, part of the success last year was incredible health, particularly along the blue line. Larson plays 82 games, Dunn plays 81. Go down the list. I mean, it was remarkable. That does not happen all the time. So Evans might be getting a crack. If something typical happens, he might see 10 or 12 games up in the show, and then he gets to go back down and keep playing.
And the X factor is Dumoulin, who had a bad season, subpar for him. I think it's a really good pickup because the upside with him is really good in that third pairing. You get a guy who's used to being a top 4 defenseman for the majority of his career and a shutdown guy. But now, if he plays alongside Schultz, there's probably a little familiar terms there between the two going back to Pittsburgh. But if Dumoulin's foot speed is an issue, as it looked like it was last year, if we're objective here with Pittsburgh, Evans slots in, right?
Yep.
And that's going to be determined in preseason.
We know this much. They love the kid, and they should love the kid.
They should love him.
Yeah.
He was phenomenal in the playoffs. It was great to watch those games. Yeah.
All right. I'm hitting you one with spontaneously because we just learned about it today. Champions League, the 24-team circuit, which is kind of a season within a season in Europe. 24 top teams play one another in kind of a tournament that goes on and on and on. They have decided that they will institute, and we've heard some clamoring for this by some NHL media, they will go with new power play rules. If you score on the power play, the penalty continues. You can score as many times on a minor, similar as if it was a major penalty of 5 minutes. So keep it going. Secondly, if you score on a delayed call, whoop-de-doo, you get the goal and the penalty is still enforced. So you get the delayed call, goal, it counts, and you still get the extra 2 minutes to play with on the power play. And then a third kind of fun one, the other side of it, if you score shorthanded, your guy comes out of the box. It's like, well, power play, you screwed up. So guess what? We're setting him free, which is kind of interesting. Thoughts on the whole concept, or maybe one or the other? Or all three?
I really like number 2.
Yep.
I really like number 2. I don't like number 1. First of all, I can't stand power play hockey. Okay. I just don't like it.
Right.
It all looks the same to me. The
Yep.
teams run the same routes, they run same plays. It's just the better players, a la the Edmonton Oilers.
Yep.
They're going to have what do we want them to be? 60, 70% on the power play? Isn't 50 or 40 good enough? I mean, I don't like that one. The second one, okay, I'm good with that. The third one, it's okay. It's interesting, but I don't know. If you score a shorthanded goal, give the team a chance to stay on the power play. I'm traditionalist that way. So I'm not as big a fan of the third one either.
Yeah. I will agree with you pretty much 100% across the board this time. Second one, I agree. Third one, I'm kind of on the fence. And the first one, forget about it. I mean, if the league can't learn a lesson, 1956, summer of 56, they changed the rule for this exact reason. The Montreal Canadiens are rolling through power plays. Jean Beliveau had 3 goals in like 40 seconds on the power play.
Right.
So that summer of 56, they go, okay, enough's enough. You score a goal, the guy comes out of the box. So why, as you pointed out, why would you go back? Plus, you ruin the game. I mean,
ruin the game.
If you score 3 on a power play,
because some of the best responses in the game are when you get scored on the power play. If you're ticked off about the penalty, you're angry. You're ticked off because you got scored on, you're angry. So the next shift, you're throwing out either your top guys or your energy guys, and you're going right back at them. What are we going to do? Stay on it again and then have a cheap way to stretch out a game, and then we have no game. Then we go from 2-0 to 4-0 and the game's over. Now they sit on a 4-0. That stinks. If they do that, it's completely wrong.
All right.
That no one will listen to me, but that's ridiculous.
Well, they should listen.
So I hope it shows its flaws.
Yeah. Well, you're absolutely correct. We'll continue. I love it. It's fantastic.
They'll stretch out the game. The Oilers can put the game away.
Yeah, it would suck. It would suck.
Yeah.
Like you said, 2-0 becomes 4-0. It's like, oh, goody. We have to come back for 4 goals because they got a power play.
Yeah, and I hate to pick on them because they're an excellent team and they're our neighbors and we're divisional foes and there's bad karma if you say things, but they live off the power plays, proven until proven otherwise, with a average defense and average goaltending. But they can be an elite team because of that. So now they're gonna, if you give them that opportunity, it feeds the lion. I don't like it.
And by the way, what team doesn't make the playoffs last year if that rule is in place?
Right.
Seattle Kraken.
Seattle Kraken.
Phenomenal 5-on-5 team. They play the game.
Right.
Best in the league. Play hockey the right way. Full strength hockey.
Right.
All right, JF. We got a roll ski. We'll be talking to you again soon. Camp coming up in a couple of weeks. Give me a quick TKH bait, baby.
That's Kraken hockey, baby.
I need not to say anything else.
The first one.
Thank you. Thank you very much. See you soon.
Hey, buddy.